Hi folks, how are you doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England. I hope you're finding the love and that you're witnessing the blessings that are there in life in these difficult and trying times. It's hard, my friends, but we're all in this together, we are. So I'm offering these devotions as my little bit of hope, doing what I can, playing my role, being a part of the solution. They are offered as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit, and for the soul. And the title for today's devotion is All is Well. Belum. Not quite yet. Bit odd. Well, more will be revealed. Let's see if it makes any sense. It might not, you know. Let's see. Anyway, I invite us to still ourselves. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken from deep, deep within us all. I have lit the flame of freedom in the cup of belonging, acceptance, and of course love. So let's sing a song to the eternal. I call us to sing joyfully, to fulfill our role as part of creation. Let us sing a song to the eternal. Let the earth and her children break forth in song. Let the sky and its creatures in chorus reply. Let the sea and all that is in it within it sound out praise. Let the storms raise their voices, the river clap their hands, and the mountains echo a verse from their rocky peaks. May we, who are joined in this spirit of love, may we sing with great rejoicing all day if you can. Let's be a part of the great choir of all creation. I'm going to begin with a prayer of hope by that famous author, Anonymous. I am afraid of nearly everything, of darkness, hunger, war, children mutilated. But most of all, I am afraid of what I might become, reconciled to injustice, resigned to fear and despair, lulled into a life of apathy. Unchain my hope, make me strong, stretch me towards the impossible, that I may work for what ought to be, the hungry fed, the enslaved free, the suffering comforted, the peace accomplished. So may it be. So this is a prayer for hope. A prayer not asking, not petitioning for change to be done for us in some future dreamlike state, but a prayer asking for the person praying to change. If there's one thing I've learnt about prayer, and through prayer actually, and I pray a lot, I really do, it's that prayer doesn't necessarily change things. Prayer changes people, and people change things. It changes me and allows me to change things. Prayer is not an abdication of responsibility, but an acceptance of responsibility in this life right now, here. I know that prayer helps to plant those seeds of hope deep within me, to create within me the sense that all is well. Not that all is perfect, far from it, but well. You might find that hard to believe, but I do believe that there is goodness, that there is wellness, that all is well. Not perfect, not as it should be, but at the core there is a wellness, a goodness. All is well. Each year I take part in a Lent breakfast series hosted by the Churches Together in Urmston. It's rare that for a Unitarian church to be welcomed fully into a Churches Together in this land, but we are full members in Urmston. We play a full role. A couple of years ago we explored the theme Hope Now. Not some dreamed of hope in the future, but hope right here, right now. It was a fascinating few weeks, actually. I took my turn to lead and enjoyed sharing in a fruitful conversation. It was wonderful to hear the different versions of people you find everywhere in the world actually sharing in this conversation. The pessimists and the optimists, the cynics and the idealists, the ones who view humanity as basically fallen but capable of okay things, and those who see humanity as basically good but who fall short from time to time, and of course those who see life as suffering with occasional glimpses of heaven, and those who see life as a blessing, a gift in which suffering occurs. How do you see things? Because it matters how you see things, you know. It really does matter, because it all matters. Matter matters, you know. Now, hope, certainly for the future, is an easily criticised concept, as it sounds like an abdication of responsibility. Hope for me, though, is not about that at all. Hope is, as I experience it, is a way of being in the world. We live in hope, through hope, in hope, by hope. I would say that we live through and by hope, or we don't at all. It's not the same. Hope's not the same as optimism. It's not about living in the expectation of something perfect beyond this life, or at least it isn't for me anyway. It's actually a quality of our broken and vulnerable hearts. Hope is something that we give birth to, a quality that we nurture, a quality that we allow to grow through our vulnerable human being. As the wonderful Václav Havel wrote, hope is an orientation of the spirit, an orientation of the heart. It's not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense regardless of how it turns out. Because so often from the most grotesque ruins of life, the most beautiful things have grown. And an example of this is found in this wonderful little gem of wisdom taken from the book Dwellings, A Spiritual History of the Living World by Linda Hogan, called Seed. Seed. There are so many beginnings. In Japan, I recall, there were wildflowers that grew in the far cool region of the mountains. The bricks of Hiroshima down below were formed of clay from these mountains, and so the walls of houses and shops held the dormant trumpet flower seeds. But after one group of humans killed another with the explosive power of life's smallest element split wide apart, the mountain flowers began to grow. Out of destruction and bomb heat and the falling of walls, the seas opened up and grew. The seeds grew. What a horrible beauty. The world going its own way, growing without us. But perhaps this, too, speaks of survival, of hope beyond our time. Yes, there may be hope beyond our time, but the seed must be planted now. The hope has to be there growing in our hearts and souls, or we won't plant those seeds. It does not mean there is not horror and destruction in our lives, of course not, but nor does the horror in the present moment stop us seeing that there is goodness in our time and place too. Don't be blinded only by that. Don't only see that. We need to live in and through hope. We need to be hope. We need to say yes to life. Just because there are problems and suffering in life, it does not mean we should turn away from life and lose all hope. Make despair the orientation of our heart. What kills us is cynicism, giving up on the possibility of what we can make things in life be. Brings to mind another quotation from Stephen Colbert, a rather wonderful late-night American television host, who suffers great despair, actually, at the state of his own country at times. But he lives in and through hope. It's an orientation of his heart and of his spirit. He has said, "Remember, you cannot be both young and wise. Young people who pretend to be wise to the ways of the world are mostly just cynics. Cynicism masquerades as wisdom, but is the farthest thing from it, because cynics don't learn anything. Because cynicism is a self-imposed blindness, a rejection of the world because we are afraid it will hurt us or disappoint us. Cynics always say no, but saying yes begins things. Saying yes is how things grow. Saying yes leads to knowledge. Yes is for young people. So for as long as you have the strength to say yes. So I say yes to life, to possibility, to the hope in my heart. That hope though has to be now. That hope is present, not some place somewhere over the rainbow again. So what do? I keep planting seeds, despite what those do tell me there's no point. For hope is, as Elizabeth Barrett says in Origami in Motion, for hope is. What does she say hope is? Well, here's the verse. Here's what she says hope is. Hope is folding paper cranes, even when your hands get cramped and your eyes tired, working past blisters and paper cuts simply because something in you insists on opening its wings. Life is not perfect. There is suffering in all aspects of life. But suffering is not life itself. Life is not suffering. I don't find that to be true at all. But suffering is present. We do not live in a state of despair. Well, at least we don't yet. Not quite yet. Which brings to mind a wonderful piece of wisdom by a wonderful piece of wisdom, I think, Robert Fulghum. And his wonderful piece of wisdom titled Belum. So this is Belum by Robert Fulghum. Americans, it is observed, prefer definite answers. Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. Yes or no. No grace, please. In Indonesia, there is a word in common use that nicely wires around the need for black and white. Belum is the word, and it means not quite yet. A lovely word implying continuing possibility. Do you speak English? Belum. Not quite yet. Do you have any children? Belum. Do you know the meaning of life? Belum. It is considered both impolite and cynical to say no outright. This leads to some very funny moments. Is the house on fire? Belum. Not quite yet. It's an attitude akin to the old vaudeville joke. Do you play the violin? I don't know, I've never tried. Perhaps, maybe, possibly. Not yes or no, but squarely within the realm of what might be. Soft edges are welcome in the great bus ride of human adventure. Is this the best of all possible worlds? Belum. Is the world coming to an end? Belum. Will we live happily ever after? Belum. Have we learned to live without weapons of mass destruction? Belum. In some ways we don't know. We've never tried. It is hopeless to is it hopeless to think we might someday try? Is it hopeless to think that? Belum. Not quite yet. I love this concept of Belum of uncertainty, but a faithful uncertainty, that nothing is ever fully sealed. Not yet, at least, anyway. However hopeless things may feel at the present moment, it does not mean that all is despair. Look around you. Look in your own heart. There is love and goodness present both within you and in all life. There are those around you that can bring inspiration to your being, who have the courage to say yes to life, that have hope lightening and inspiring their hearts. So yes, all is well. I know it doesn't always feel like it. Some days it really doesn't, but you know it is. For an awful long time, I used to say, all will be well, you know. Don't lose faith in life. But over time I've changed my mind. Well, actually, my heart and soul have changed my mind. My minds are made for changing, you know. We should never, 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 never think we know all that we need to know, that we know everything. Belum. So I no longer believe that all will be well, to quote Julian of Norwich. Sorry, Julian, I don't agree. And why, you may well ask? Well, because it sounds like an abdication and an abandonment of this life, and I don't want to do that. Such belief is of no use to me. Belum. I find it disrespectful as it rejects what I'm experiencing right here, right now. It's a rejection of reality. And I live here. So my truth, Belum at least, well, Belum, my truth as I speak right now is that all is well. Well, Belum, not quite yet maybe. No, all is well. I'm going to argue with myself now. Life is rich in meaning. It is not devoid of suffering and trouble, but it is well. Life is good. There is love. There is goodness. And it's my task, and I believe it's your task too. I believe it's our task to share that with all those around us. It's the orientation of my heart anyway, of my soul. It's my living, breathing hope. So seeds planted. But living this way is not about perfection. It's not about completeness. It's about planting seeds from our hearts and our souls and living in the Belum and the not quite yets of life. To repeat those words by Robert Fulghum, is this the best of all possible worlds? Belum. Is the world coming to an end? Belum. Will we live happily ever after? Belum. Have we learned to live without weapons of mass destruction? Belum. In some ways, we don't know. We've never tried. Is it hopeless to think that we might someday try? Belum. Not quite yet. So what are you going to do? Are you going to try? Give it a go. Plant those seeds in your heart and souls right here, right now, or be cynical and claim the wisdom of fear and say we've tried this before, it won't work, what's the point, people will never change, there is no hope. Or are you going to join with me and believe in your heart that all is well? Not perfect, gosh, there's so much that is wrong, but all is well. Doesn't mean it's right, but it's well. That there is goodness in the world and goodness in our hearts, and that this goodness can once again grow in the world if we just let the courage work through us. And we can rise again. Belum, Belum, Belum. It's up to us right here, right now. Hope is not something we passively dream of in the future, something beyond this life. It has to be born here, right now. It's an orientation of our heart and souls, or it's not at all, or it's nothing. All is well. It's not perfect. It's not without suffering, but all is good. There is goodness in life. Well, have the courage to allow the seeds of hope to form in your hearts and souls. Let it become the orientation of your very being. Let's not give up on our belief in love and life. Well, at least not quite yet. Belum, 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 Belum. Not quite yet. I'm going to end today's reflection with some words of blessing. Begin with the blessing. The world needs our blessing. We can all bless, so go and bless. Bless all you do and all you feel and all you experience this day. Give your whole hearts to it. So I offer these words of blessing. So let's return to our lives in peace. Let's deeply regard each other. Let's truly listen to one another. Speak what each of us must speak and be ready in any moment to disarm our own hearts and always live as if a realm of love had already begun. And may the love of God go with us all, in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. Belum, 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 Belum. Amen.